Good morning, Broncos fans. Welcome to Legends of Mile High. I'm Thomas Hall, and we are going to talk today about the head coaching problem and what may be a possible solution. Is the defensive coordinator, Evero, next in line for that job, and should he take over now? That is a good question, and we are going to jump into it. So, thank you for joining Legends of Mile High, where we talk a lot about history and current events. We blend the two together, and hopefully, we can teach Broncos fans and people who aren't fans of the Denver Broncos, if they're watching, something about the great storied history of this franchise. And I know that it's been a rough last few years. I mean, to talk about a great franchise, if you just became a Broncos fan since Super Bowl 50, well, this is not normal. It's definitely not normal. The Broncos have shown a propensity for being a successful franchise over the 4 decades before before Super Bowl 50, and then after that, we've suffered. And right now, we are suffering. We are watching a potential of a great team being run into the ground. And that is a shame. And that actually starts with coaching. I mean, you can't blame it on the owners anymore. You can't blame it on anything else. The head coach is really the leader of the team in season, and he has not done a good job. So we are going to jump into possible replacements and specifically the defensive coordinator who has the defense playing incredible. Best, probably could be considered the best defense in the league right now. And especially when you have an offense who is not keeping their end of the bargain up. But before we jump in, we are going to check out the comments. We got Brad D coming in. Good to see you this morning. Good morning, Thomas. Good morning to you. Dom, great to see you as well. Good morning, Thomas Scott in Broncos country. Orange Friday today. Hopefully you can get a win on Sunday. Always hope. Magic. A Mile High Magic. Denver Broncos for life. Dom, I appreciate the comment coming in from Facebook. Thank you, Brad, for coming in. Appreciate it. Ryan Olson. Ryan, welcome to the show. Appreciate the comment. The answer is resounding yes. Evero should have taken over weeks ago. Yeah, thanks, Ryan. I appreciate that. I appreciate that comment. I appreciate coming in with your take, because this is doing this live. That's what we enjoy, to have back and forth with the people who listen and give you a voice. And I appreciate the comment. So first of all, we're going to be watching the Broncos take on the Raiders, the hated Raiders at Denver. So if they lose this game, it should be without a doubt an automatic firing of Nathaniel Hackett, regardless of whether they think anyone could take over. I mean, they could bring in the mascot for all I care. If the Broncos get swept by the Raiders and Hackett's the leader of the team, he should no longer be here. That's just plain and simple. I mean, the Broncos have struggled this year, to say the least. And if man, if they can't get a win against the Raiders, against Josh McDaniels, who Broncos country has every reason to hate. If you were a Broncos fan when Josh McDaniels was the coach, it looked like he was sent in by uh, by the Patriots and by their head coach to destroy a great franchise. And he did, man. He came in and he destroyed the Denver Broncos in a matter of a year, less than a year, actually. Man, he came in and slashed and burned and was just a jerk while doing it. So we cannot watch them lose to the Raiders. But even if they do beat the Raiders, Hackett has shown that he cannot run this team. It's not just play calling. And he has only himself to blame for these offensive woes. He is the play caller. He's the one that implemented the scheme, which is in theory a great scheme, but he was not able to implement it correctly, or he can't coach it correctly. Something's got to give. The scheme is not West Coast offense zone blocking scheme that we have witnessed in the past. Those are successful offenses, and this offense has not been successful, and Hackett is to blame. Miar, thank you for coming in. Morning. Agree. Yeah, let's. I'm glad that people are coming in to agree with me this morning, or other commenters. Dom coming back in, exactly. Someone's head needs to be gone. Absolutely, heads will roll. They have to. I mean, I can't imagine a worse scenario than for the Broncos to be at 3-6 and then be swept by the Raiders before we, see them. The Broncos even get into the very end, towards the end of the schedule. That's just awful. It's unfathomable to me, but it could very well happen because, like I said, Hackett has not been a good coach. He just hasn't. He hasn't brought in a good scheme, or well, he, like I said, he brought in in theory, a good scheme. West Coast offense has shown success throughout the league for his, since Bill Walsh brought it in back in the '80s. And the zone blocking scheme was made famous by our Denver Broncos. Shanahan, Gibbs, and that incredible offensive line led by Tom Nalen, who should be in the Hall of Fame. And here's hoping that the voters see fit to send him to the Hall of Fame this year. I'm not going to hold out a lot of hope, but I'm still pushing for him to get in. But anyway, back to Hackett. He's not doing his job. That's plain and simple. He's not teaching. He's not leading. He's not calling plays well. He is scrapping the scheme mid-game. It seems like, we're watching a running game. When there's success, you see the zone blocking principles. You see lateral movement. You see the offensive linemen reading their blocks and getting to the second level. But then out of the blue, you just see them run right into the middle of the field in a big pileup. I just don't understand. If you're going to implement something in training camp, keep doing it through the season until it works. Don't scrap it in the midway through the first game and start just, winging it. That's what it seems like. And the second piece that I just can't get over is just how poor they're running the timing scheme from the West Coast offense. I mean, scheming people open is a staple, and they're not doing it. It's like Hackett thinks that his players should win one-on-one matchups all the time, and that's how they're going to win, and not using the scheme to help his players succeed. And that's what I'm seeing. I'm just not seeing the that scheme coming to fruition. And man, so in my opinion, I mean, I've been a proponent of the players need to make plays on the field, and that is absolutely true. But when you have this many injuries, you have to put your players in a position to succeed. And Hackett has not done that on offense. However, Evero has done it on the defensive side of the ball. He's coaching a team that's been very injured as well. Many players, many starters have missed time or are on injured reserve for the year, and he's still got that defense playing incredible football. And that is the sign of a good coach. So, should he take over? I mean, we've got lists out there already of the hot coaching candidates for next season, and he is on the top of many lists. And if not on the top, he's close to the top from what he's doing. And that's incredible, to come in with little experience and being able to have such success in only the first year is incredible. I mean, the Broncos have some good defensive players, no doubt, no doubt. But with the injuries and with, little experience, he's done an incredible job. He has put his players in position to succeed. He's taught the defense well. He's stuck to the scheme. And during games, he's made the right calls most of the time. It's been incredible. And when you look at that, the offense versus the defense is night and day. It's obviously their 32nd ranked offense and first ranked defense in almost every category. So, it is night and day. So what the heck, and Hackett is calling the plays. He's the leader of the offense. He can't blame anybody else but himself. Brad D, they will want to interview assistants from successful teams, playoff teams. It's going to be a while. Yeah, it's true. But I'm actually talking about this season. Should they get rid of Hackett this season, and should Evero be the one that steps in? And next year, he's going to be at top of the list. If they fire Hackett, Evero's going to be a top of the list candidate for the Broncos from what he's done this season. So I'm you're right. It'll be a longer process. But the nice thing is they know him from being in the organization this season. So if they would like him a lot, it won't take long to pull the trigger, I don't think. However, you never know what happens. It's a whole new ball game. Got a new owner, new ownership group. You got George Payton making the mistake on his first hire. So maybe he's going to be a little more tentative on just jumping the gun on something. I don't know. But Hackett has failed. I mean, that's there's no doubt about that. So if they do decide to get rid of Hackett in season, it doesn't bode well for the team. I mean, the Broncos had four interim coaches in their history, and they all have really failed to change the course of the team. I mean, the first one was Max Speedy. He came in, interim head coach, wasn't very good, went 2-7-1, not great, obviously, and then he was replaced mid-season also by Ray Malavasi, and he wasn't very good either. But those were bad teams. I mean, those were just straight up bad teams in the 60s. The Broncos struggled. They didn't get a winning season until the early 70s, and so they were bad teams. So you can't look at all of history and say that's a harbinger for this season if they replace the coach. I mean, Jerry Smith was another interim head coach in Broncos history who actually didn't, for interims was one of the better ones, went 4-9-1. And that was in 1971. So, again, that was still bad teams. And then, we're just talking about Josh McDaniels. Eric Stoodsville came in and replaced him as an interim head coach. And, Josh McDaniels destroyed that team. So, you can't fault these guys for not being able to turn it around because they had bad teams. But I would argue that this isn't a bad team. They're playing badly, but they've got talent on this team. It's not a group devoid of talent. So maybe an interim coach would find success this season because they, come in and actually coach well. That's been the problem. Hackett has not been able to get his offense in position to succeed. It's just head scratching move after head scratching move. So, replacing him, that you might see some turnaround. We saw a pretty decent turnaround with Bisaccia at the Raiders last year. I mean, he came in and got him into the playoffs. And look at him now; they're terrible under Josh McDaniels, which obviously Broncos fans love to revel in that because Josh McDaniels is terrible, and we don't like the Raiders. So that's a win-win. We got Chuck Wagon coming in, replacing your head coach in the middle of his first year, especially with horrible QB, is not a good look. And you're right. Thanks, Chuck, for coming in, Chuck Wagon. I like that. It's true. I mean, it's not a good look, but it also it's not a good look to be inept as they are, during the season. I mean, the Broncos are the laughingstock because they went out and paid big money for Russell Wilson, and there was a huge amount of promise on this team. And I would say that it wouldn't be a good look getting rid of him in midseason if the whole team was playing terribly. But the fact of the matter is, the defense is not. The offense is the one that dragging the team down, and that is on Hackett. Completely on him. And so, I mean, it's a bad look either way. But at some point, something's got to give, and he's not cutting it. He just isn't. Heavy Metal Tom coming in. No, I want a top 5 pick. Russell will sink the next guy. Just leave. Can't Hackett alone. Well, unfortunately, we're not going to get a top 5 pick. We're not going to see the Broncos have a top 5 pick because they traded away for Russell Wilson. They do have a first round pick. So, oh, I see. I got you. Seahawks fan. Okay. I got you. You coming in. You come in and gloat. I mean, the Seahawks made a great move, it looks like, this year. And you got to tip your hat to the Seahawks, how they've been playing. I don't really care for the Seahawks, obviously, but man, I am surprised that they are doing as well as they are. So, um, Juan coming in. Good morning. I know everyone wants the head coach gone, but it's up to the new owners and Peyton. Back when the team was in London, Peyton said he has confidence in Hackett, so I believe coach will be back next year. Just my thoughts. You very may be correct. Thanks for coming in from Facebook, Juan. I appreciate it. The problem with that is you can't believe what everybody says on the podium. I mean, Peyton's not going to come out there and say, "Oh yeah, we don't believe in him. We're just keeping him around because we're still weighing our options on what we can do this season." I mean, he has to give that vote of confidence to Hackett, but that doesn't mean that he's going to keep him around. Now, not giving him a second chance, he's new. He's his first time doing it. I could see that maybe they would want to give him a chance to see if he gets it figured out. But so far he hasn't. And the biggest reason why I'm so down on him now and not wanting to give him a second chance is Hackett had 2 weeks to prepare over the bye for the Titans. And the Broncos came out looking exactly like they were before. And that's the problem I have with Hackett now, because he can't figure it out. And it, 2 weeks to prepare and doing the same exact thing that he was doing all year before. That's just, I mean, that's boneheaded. That means he can't figure it out. And so we're gonna watch the Broncos just look terrible the rest of the season, because he doesn't know what he's doing, and it's a shame. So if he's able to turn it around, just say that they beat the Raiders, and then it goes on a bit of a run. They turn around, they end up with an okay season at the second half. Then yes, I think he'll get a second chance. But if they continue to do what they've been doing, I don't think they're gonna give him a second chance. And if they lose the Raiders, man, I think they should fire him that next day. We got Clayton Huron. Good morning, Clayton. Thanks for coming in. Good morning. Smash that like button and share, guys. Yeah, thank you very much for saying that. I really do appreciate all the support that I get from the Broncos community. I love this show. I love talking to you all. And so definitely, like the show, share it with friends, family, whatever. Let's get some more people in here to give you the takes of the day. Like what are your thoughts on the Browns? And we're getting some good ones on here, definitely. And the thought that I have is, many people have is, the defensive coordinator has done such a great job. Why not give him a shot? Now, my only issue with it is he's inexperienced as well. You're going to put him into the head role if you fire Hackett and move him up, and that's probably going to have the defense suffer. So it's one of those things where he has a lot of success, but if you move him, are you going to hurt the area that's actually playing really well? And that may be the case. Also, it'd be nice to give him a little more experience before giving him the job. Let him finish out defensive coordinator the rest of the year. I think actually in-house, the one option that is a reasonable option to have as an interim head coach, if he would do it, is Dom Capers. Have him take over. He's got plenty of head coaching experience. He doesn't have to, he can step into the interim role. He doesn't have to, think that he's going to be the head coach going forward. Get somebody in there with experience, have somebody else take over the offensive playing calling duties, and have Capers run the team, and then keep Evero in his spot. Get him some more experience as a defensive coordinator. Get him to keep that defense rolling, and then see what happens with the offense with somebody new coming in, new play caller, someone who's willing to stick with the scheme and coach these players up, get them in the right spot to succeed, and see what happens. And then at the end of the year, then make the decision. Because I don't think Dom Capers really wants to continue to be a head coach in the NFL. Maybe he does, but that's a good fit in my opinion. That way you don't have to. Disturb the defense right now, because, like I said, that's the best part of the team for sure. So, got some comments about the mug. Yes. Yeah, this is a great mug. I mean, I had it for a long time. It's it's fun. It's Denver Broncos, which I love, and a lot of people do. So, thank you for the comments about the mug. And Clayton, you're absolutely correct. Injuries is killing the team, and it really is. I thank you for the comment, Clayton. The injuries have devastated this team. I mean, you all witnessed what happened when a few of the offensive linemen went down. It was just mayhem on the offensive line against the Titans. As soon as a couple of the players were lost to injury, you had Billy Turner go down early, and then you had the backup center Graham Glasgow go down, and man, it was just a free for all for the Titans. And part of that was Russ holding the ball forever, but that's part of the scheme, Like, it's a timing offense. It should be a timing offense. He shouldn't be dropping back and holding the ball for 3 seconds. He should be dropping back, delivering the ball to the spot that the receiver's supposed to be, and he's not doing that. And I think that's has to do with the scheme and how Hackett set it up. I just don't. I'm still scratching my head at how that scheme had been implemented and then just bastardized, from the great offenses of the past that used the West Coast offense. So it's mind boggling. So in my opinion, I mean, I like Evero and I think he should get a shot, but maybe not jumping into interim coach this season. And who knows? I mean, Peyton may just stick with Hackett the rest of the year. I don't know why, but he's gonna have to turn it around for sure. So, but we'll see how fired up the players are against the hated Raiders this Sunday. Man, it's hard for me to say that they're gonna win because I thought they were gonna win many games this season, and they just came out and stunk it up on the offensive side of the ball anyway. So it's hard for me to say that they're going to, be at home and beat the Raiders, even the Raiders who are not very good. I mean, they're poorly coached. They have a void of talent on that team. I mean, they've gotten rid of most of their number one picks that they've had the last couple of years because of the, terrible picks that they were for the spots. I just don't think, I just have my doubts that they're going to be able to pull this game out, and that's sad because I'm an optimist when it comes to the Broncos. I think they're always going to have a good season and they're going to win games. And my prediction record for them on Mile High Huddle Roundtable, I think, is now a losing record, which is a shame. But I just see, from what I've seen, I have my doubts. So if they lose, I really do hope that they get rid of Hackett. I just do. I mean, it's a shame to see you have fans leaving overtime because they knew that the Broncos weren't going to win that game. You got booing in the stands. You got a lot of disgruntled fans, and that's why they play the game. I mean, I don't care what people say or athletes come out and like, this is our job. Yeah, your job is to entertain the fans. I mean, that's what it is. If there's no fans, you don't have a job. You just don't, not being paid what you're being paid. So to put a product out on the field that's so bad, people leave in overtime of a close game, that's a pretty sad state of affairs. So I think, I don't know. I think heads will roll, and there's only one head to roll, in my opinion, and that's Hackett if they lose this weekend. So, we have any other thoughts? I know there's a lot of other coaching thoughts out there. A lot of people like to say, "Oh, let's bring in an experienced guy to coach." I go. Depends on who the experienced coach is, right? I mean, for every second time around person who failed the first time and became a coach, I can show you 3 who failed the second time miserably. And we got Josh McDaniels right now showing that on this season. So it's not necessarily, it's an experienced guy has to come in and fix this. It's the right guy, and that person could be a first timer. It doesn't matter. I mean, look at the first timers that are having success this year. It just depends on who you pick, really. Um, and I think the second time coaches, if you're going to bring in a second timer who didn't do great or was okay, you have to look at the reasons why that person failed to begin with. So Shanahan is one that everybody jumps on to show, oh, well, he was terrible with the Raiders, and then look what he did with the Broncos. But I'll tell you, he was doomed at the Raiders to begin with. He didn't get to implement his offense, didn't to bring in his coaches. He didn't get to do a lot of things. Al Davis sabotaged him from the beginning. So, yeah, of course he's going to fail in that situation. Jeremy, good to see you coming in. Morning, Thomas. I agree with these injuries. It's hard to be optimistic about the rest of the season. Jeremy, you're absolutely right. I mean, it is a war of attrition, so to speak. And you see every season, you see teams who have great promise and maybe even winning really well coming out of the gate, and then they start to have injuries. And at some point, when you're replacing your star players due to injury with lesser players, you just cannot, keep up the winning ways. It doesn't happen. I mean, that's just the way it is. So yeah, I don't. Yeah, with the thing is like I say that, and then watch the defensive coordinator doing what he's doing with an injured defense. So, but after a while, I mean, once they're all gone, once your stars are gone and hurt, you just don't have the talent, and you're right, Jeremy. It's going to be a rough last half of the season because injuries take its toll, and that's just the way it is. Brad D. Oh, sorry. Brad D. Peyton is looking at the Viking staff. That's who he knows. Yeah, you might be right. I don't like that approach. I don't like familiarity. I don't think that's a sign of a good leader, just hiring people you're familiar with. I mean, sometimes you have to bring in a different perspective. So I don't like that approach, and I hope he doesn't. I hope he doesn't take that approach when looking for a coach. So we'll see, definitely see. But yeah, I don't like that approach. And if Peyton keeps doing that, then people should start to have a little suspicion on his ability to lead the team as a general manager. And he's done it. I think he's done a good job. I mean, people have anointed him already how great he's going to be and whatnot. He's had some good drafts. Don't get me wrong, but he's also made some pretty poor decisions as well. So I think Randy Gregory's one of them. Paying Russell Wilson is one of them. Bringing Hackett is one of them. These are big decisions that he's made that have not paid off yet. I'm not down on Russell Wilson. I don't think that. I mean, obviously he's not playing well, but I don't think he has gone from being a great quarterback, elite level quarterback, to just being terrible all of a sudden. It happens, but not typically at this age. I think it's a bad mix between Hackett and Russell Wilson. I think that his confidence is shaken, and I think that he. He's going to have to change some stuff up off season, and hopefully a new offensive scheme that fits him better will show that he's not gone. Jeremy coming back in about talking about the injuries. It's shown we have a much better depth on defense than the offense, especially on the lines. Absolutely correct. Yeah, you definitely the depth of the defense was good. And the problem is the offensive line didn't. Yeah, you're right. The offensive line didn't have great depth. They had good players to start out, and what we thought was going to be a pretty good line. But the problem was you had the starting right tackle, and that didn't even start till late in the season. In Billy Turner, Lloyd Cushenberry was a weaker link for sure. He looked like he had made an improvement and started to step up his game, but in the training camp, but he couldn't do it in season. So, and then Quinn Miners got hurt right away, and then Bowles is gone. It's the depth isn't great. If all the starters had remained, I think they'd have been a pretty decent line. The improvement though was Glasgow taking over for Cushenberry. Cushenberry did not look good, and I thought he was going to be a steal, a third round draft choice. I thought he was going to be a good player for the team, but He turned out not to be, and I think he's a bad fit for the zone blocking scheme. And like I said this in the past, like it's like Hackett saw that there were a few players that weren't a good fit for the scheme, so he kind of like halfway scratched it, and now it's a it's a mess of a scheme. It's just a mess of a scheme. So, but with Glasgow, Miners, and Risner, I think it's an okay starting middle of the line. But this offseason, they're going to have to make some massive moves to shore up that offensive line. I actually don't think, I'm not a big fan of Garrett Bowles. I think he had a good season, but he is not in the past, but he's not a great left tackle. And I think they got to look at left tackle, they got to look at right tackle, and they've got to look at least bringing in somebody on the interior. I think really Miners is the only player that on the offensive line that I would say should not be gone. Everybody else is expendable, in my opinion. Obviously, you can't just get rid of them all and bring in new, because it's just not feasible. You can't reshape your entire offensive line in one offseason, and maybe you can, but I doubt it. But I think you're going to see, maybe they're going to try and keep Turner around for another year, give him another contract, hopefully. But yeah, I think Miners, in my mind, is the only one safe on that offensive line. Dan Smoot coming in. Dan, thank you for coming in from Facebook. The O-line is far too gone to shore up. You may be correct. I mean, not just their ability, but their injuries have really taken its toll. However, when they had Glasgow at center, Risner and Miners, Turner and Anderson, or Fleming, actually, that wasn't a bad line that we saw. I mean, it's patchwork line, but it wasn't terrible. But then, Fleming got lost. He got injured, and Turner got injured. So you're right. I mean, it's too far gone this season. I mean, hopefully they can get some of these players back. I mean, Glasgow's week to week. He may play. Billy Turner is gone for a while for sure. I mean, 4 games. So, man, what are they going to do? What are the Broncos going to do at this point? You're going to have, looks like you're going to have Anderson, Risner, maybe Glasgow, maybe Wattenberg, Miners, and then you've got Bailey. That's just, man, that's rough. But in my opinion, they have to start running the ball. I mean, as we witnessed in the Titans, pass blocking is not their strength in the state that the Broncos offensive line is. So let's lean on the running game a little bit and see if the Broncos can actually do something in the running game with a patchwork offensive line. At least you're not going to have Russell Wilson getting hit 17 times or however many times he got hit in that Titans game. It was just awful. Oh man, it's a sad state of affairs on the offense, and even we're talking about replacing Hackett. Maybe the replacing Hackett isn't going to make any change in the offense. I mean, with the offensive injuries and the offensive line, maybe it won't, but at least it will show that the leadership knows they made a mistake, and give some hope to say we're not going to keep doing the same things that we're doing, because that's what Hackett has done. He has not made any changes. He's continued to do the same thing. And so maybe management needs to step in and say, we're not going to keep doing the same things. We're going to show that we are going to get better. And maybe they'll go out and find an experienced coach that can step in and change things around next season. But that may mean that you're losing a defensive coordinator that is shown to be very good at his job. Very good. So, accountability. Absolutely. That is something that has not been happening on the field. I mean, Hackett comes out and tries to take accountability, saying that's on me. Well, at some point, you say that's on me so many times, it's the boy who cried wolf or whatever. It's like you're not taking accountability because you're coming in and saying it's on me, but then you're not doing anything about it. It's just noise at this point. So taking accountability, saying it's on me is just that. You're going to go out and make changes. You're going to do something different, and he's not doing that. Ashish, thanks for coming with the comment from Facebook. I appreciate it. This season has been the worst since Super Bowl. There were so high expectations, and even the worst thing is Broncos don't get to pick high and build for the next season. Hackett looks clueless to me. He needs to be gone ASAP. That's exactly right. You hit the nail on the head. The expectations were very high. They went out and got a quarterback because what we've witnessed has been poor quarterback play and poor coaching since Super Bowl. Really, I mean, Kubiak was still a good coach, but poor quarterback play doomed that team. So absolutely, I think sorry, I lost my train of thought here. You're right. It was the expectations, and I had high expectations bringing in a quarterback, new coach. The roster looked pretty good until they started to get injured, and that's been the record may not show that they're the worst ever. They're pretty bad, but couple that with our perception of this team, how good it was supposed to be. That gap is what is so disheartening. To see what could have been, and then it just not coming out on the field. It's terrible. Dan Smoot, I always compare our offensive line to the 95-99 O-line. Not one player could start on that line. That may be unfair, but it is my measuring stick. That's one of the greatest offensive lines in the history of the NFL. The 97 offensive line could be, it's ranked in the top 10 usually of anybody that ranks offensive lines. So comparing the offensive line to that team is tough. I mean, I'll tell you, you've got Hall of Famer Gary Zimmerman, Tom Nalen, who should be in the Hall of Fame. So everybody, anyone listening, go on to social media, talk about Tom Nalen, listen to my show. I make a case for him. He should be in the Hall of Fame. You got Mark Schlereth on that line, who, man, he's a borderline Hall of Famer in my book. He's been on 3 Super Bowl wins, 2 iconic lines, the Denver Broncos No Hush, Orange Hush, and the Hogs in Washington. That was a great offensive line. And then Tony Jones, who doesn't get much due, underrated player, probably could have been MVP of that Super Bowl against Green Bay Packers, what he did against Reggie White. I mean, that was incredible. So I don't think you're going to ever find an offensive line that good. In 95, it was a different 95 and 96 was a different offensive line, really. I mean, didn't have Tony Jones coming in. You didn't have, all of the players that culminated in 97. Was awesome. But then again, in 98, they were able to do without Zimmerman. They swapped Tony Jones over, and Harry Swain was the right tackle, and they still were able to perform at a high level. In fact, for running, Terrell Davis is one of the greatest 2,000-yard seasons ever. So I have a hard time comparing any offensive line to that. But man, if you could get an offensive line that good again, this team would be unstoppable, in my opinion, with Russell Wilson back there at quarterback. Boozy Simmons, we are saying bad quarterback play, and yeah, it has been bad, but the O-line is terrible. We can't pull all the bad on Wilson. The play calling is unbearable. Absolutely, and that's what we're talking about. Hackett's not putting his players in position to succeed. Offensive line is bad. And you can't put it all on Russell Wilson. He does shoulder some of the blame. I mean, he has been inaccurate. He has missed a lot of open reads. So part of that is being in an offense that maybe doesn't suit him, or an offensive scheme that they were implementing in training camp and didn't actually start happening really in game. So, he has to shoulder a little bit of the blame, but I still think that a lot of it has to do with the scheme itself, and that's the problem. It's just the wrong scheme, and I shouldn't say it's the wrong scheme. It's a poorly implemented scheme at best. That's what I chalk it up to. So, all right. Well, I just want to say to everyone that jumped into the chat, thank you very much. I appreciate the discussion. I appreciate the passion that that we all show for the Broncos, the team that we love, and appreciate you coming in here and supporting this show. And thank you to Scott for being here to make sure that everything's running behind the scenes well. And I just want to say, everybody, have a great Thanksgiving coming up. It's Thanksgiving week coming up, so spend time with family. I'm thankful for the show. I'm thankful for Mile High Huddle for letting me have this show, and I thank you to the listeners because that's why I do it. And I love to hear that perspective. So thank you very much. I'm going to wrap up the show now and just say, have a great Thanksgiving, and hopefully we can watch the Broncos beat the hated Raiders this weekend. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving week, and go Broncos.